Hey, what's going on, everyone? Zeusfer here. Welcome you to the CPL Minors Season 1, Week 1 Power Rankings. And once again, I am joined by both Pierre and Word. Say what's up, everyone, guys.
I'm waiting on you to go first. I thought you were gonna go first.
No.
The power moves.
I was willing to let that sit for like a good 30 minutes. All right, fuck. What's bracking, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy, Word Life, aka Tatiana Life, aka Captain Snowflake, aka Choke Life, aka Daddy Life, aka Lord Wife, aka Lamron's Daddy.
All the nicknames. And then what's
the,
up, Pierre?
the list is gonna get longer every week. I'm just letting y'all know.
It better.
It's gonna be like 30 of them by the time we get over with the season.
And then we also got Pierre here. What's up, Pierre?
Hello.
All right, so last week, or I guess a little bit longer than a week ago, we did our post-draft rankings, but we actually have the first week of actual play in, so we're going to go ahead and just get right into it. So, starting off, we have in 12th place, Eevee, coach of the Farmington Feraligatrs. So, he played, let me double check this, I forgot. He played Soham. He lost 1-0, kind of a close 1-0. The reason why I have him down at 12, though, is I feel like his prep was kind of weird. He brought a Dragon Dance Latios, which is okay, but he had nothing for Scizor, and he actually tried setting up while Scizor was still alive and pretty healthy. So he sets up and then goes for a Shadow Claw and just gets bopped by a Bug Bite. So the play in Latios was not really good enough. His Ninjask bring was interesting, with it being protect, baton pass. It got, I think, a kill, but he didn't really pass the speed into the right Mon. He tried passing it into Ninetales, which could have won him the game, but a modest boom burst from Swellow just took that out of his possibility. Overall, I guess it was kind of close. I guess I could have put Eevee a little higher, but I just feel like his prep wasn't all there, and he could have probably played the matchup itself a little better. So, what do you think of Eevee, Pierre?
Well, you kind of mentioned that his prep was weird. I just thought that it was bad. I mean, look at his team and look at Swellow. His best defensive check is Mawile, and Mawile has trash special defense. I mean, Latios is offensive. It's not gonna, be able to check anything. So like this, I mean, this team was 6-0 by Swellow, like almost from matchup, and that play into the Ninetales was so confusing because like I didn't know the calc, and I thought, oh, Ninetales just drops no matter what. Like I thought he was just throwing at that point. I didn't realize that it was a roll, but I mean, still, Ninetales pretty much got bopped. Everything got bopped by Swellow. And then you also mentioned that he didn't have enough for Scizor, and he basically wasted one of his best win cons when he was in on the Scizor. So I thought prep and play were just, I mean, I can't really think of a better word than just bad or weird. But yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, there wasn't much foresight in Eevee's play, as seen by the main example would be not only DDing with Latios, but staying in on the scissor with Latios when you unless you're like DD HP Fire as a lure, which honestly I thought that would be the set because that's something I would run bait him into thinking you're physical and then bop him with a Life Orb HP Fire, but he wasn't, so he just kind of set up out of desperation probably. And another example would be letting the Hitmontop take a Draco from Hydreigon. While he did get a kill on the Hydreigon, the Hydra was far from the biggest threat that he had to worry about, and the Hitmontop was like his best counterplay to Lopunny, basically, or at least like it prevented the Lopunny from just running house. So those two plays really showed that he didn't have much foresight, as well as honestly that not passing the speed into Mawile is pretty inexcusable. Because even if you were predicting him to go for a heat wave, like I'm not sure what the logic behind going into Ninetales over Mawile is. Because a Mawile just bops ever. I'm pretty sure a play rough kills Blacephalon after rocks, just like straight up. Because like Blacephalon's paper, and it definitely, assuming he hits, he had the game if he just baton passed into Mawile, even if he didn't play very well. I don't really know what the logic behind going into Ninetales was. But yeah, that's all I have to say about it.
All right. So, Pierre, why don't you tell us about Falcon?
So I mean, I couldn't really find specific moments that stood out, but I think just the entire game of him versus mid was a complete mismatch. It was just from prep to play. It was just overall just bad. Like I said, like I couldn't find any like there were like several things, but like just this was the most lopsided match of the week, and I thought it was just decisive. Like it wasn't even really like a contest.
What do you think, Word, about Falcon's play?
I mean, yeah, he honestly played. It seemed like he was trying to play defensively against Mid's team when he didn't really have any good defensive checks to his threats. And that's the type of matchup where you can't, like, it seemed like he was trying to prep and play defensively when he had no real great defensive countermeasures. Also, he was safety goggles electrode, which, like, if you're facing an Amoonguss, I can see why you'd have a safety goggles mon. But first off, Amoonguss had a pretty terrible matchup versus you because you have a Dragonite, a Medicham, and a Necrozma. Also, Electrode isn't taking on Amoonguss even with the safety goggles, because I'm pretty sure Sludge Bomb at least 3 hit KOs, if not 2 hit KOs with poison, and you're doing like 20 back with Signal Beam. So not really sure how I feel about that prep. Also, he was a speed boosting Necrozma with nothing to hit Latias, which, like, not even like Dark Pulse or Signal. Like, he should have had Dark Pulse because he has a Shandy and a Latias, but seemed yeah, it just seemed like he was throwing stuff on there just randomly, like, oh, this checks this, but Mid had ways of beating those supposed checks. So that's all I have to say.
And one thing that I want to bring up is at the very end, like I honestly thought it might come down to like a 1 or 2-0. Like I did not expect the Gyarados to clean, but just the way that he played around it, like allowed Gyarados to kind of just clean.
Yeah, I mean, he did get that flinch on the Crozma, which would have made it a 2-0, because I do think Chandelure probably cleaned up at that point. I feel like he played the Electrode really badly this game. His Electrode was his only really thing that was there for the Persian, because Persian just parting shots on his entire team, and Signal Beam from Electrode's not really doing enough to really two-shot the lone Persian. Electrode would have been nice to have in the background for Gyarados to stop him from sweeping, but he kind of lets it go, trying to get chip damage on the Latias, which it does get confused, and it did hit itself quite a bit, but it had recover, so it wasn't going down at any time, and just set it for free. He also brought Life Orb Shinshino, which unfortunately for Falcon was not enough to take out the Latias. So had he run it banded, definitely would have taken it out, and I understand why he didn't want to run it banded, because he has the Chandelure there to basically just get a free switch in and force a switch out if he's locked into tail Tail Slap. His switch into the Mega Diancie was Tentacruel, which just got absolutely destroyed by the combination of Diamond Storm and Earth Power. And I guess he was a special Dragonite because it had HP Steel, unless that was just a tech move for the Mega Diancie. But he didn't really use Dragonite all too well. It just revenge killed and then got revenge killed itself. So yeah, just like Pierre said, just kind of a bad matchup, and just a little bit of bad play along with there, and a little bit of hacks, but not too much deciding, I would say.
I would just like to add that King's Rock Chinchino is the only set,
I'm pretty sure King's Rock's not allowed, but okay.
Yeah, I think it's
is
banned.
Is it not really? I thought it was just because I know Bright Powder's banned. I thought King's Rack would be allowed.
I think it's all hacks related items.
Yeah.
What then? Chinchino is not a Pokemon because King's Rock is in fact the only set.
Yeah.
Also, this goes back to the main knock we had on Falcon's team in the post-draft PRs, which is that his team has no good ways of revenging fast setup threats because none of his fast mons hit hard. All of his mons are slow except for like 3 of them, and all 3 of his fast mons are relatively weak. Electrode has a niche. I don't think it's a bad low tier. I think it's actually a good low tier, but it's weak. It's not a strong Pokemon. It's a support. It's a fast support mon. You set up screens with it. You Thunder Wave. You Volt Switch. That's what you do with Electrode. It's not a revenge killer for the most part. Excelgor could have come in this matchup, to be honest. Unless there's something that mid didn't bring that just like hard counters it. But honestly, like a Bug Buzz, HP Steel, or like a Bug Buzz Energy Ball,
HP Steel,
HP Electric. I would say Energy Ball, HP Electric for the Gyarados.
Yeah.
Like Excelgor could have put in a lot of work. Actually, I'm surprised it like maybe Encore to like negate Calm Mind, Shandy, and Latios.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been a very good bring on Falcon's part. But yeah, basically, I think the main problem for Falcon is just team composition because faster setup threats, he just has such a hard time revenge killing because just the way his team is composed.
Yeah.
Definitely. And last thing is that you know, I have a feeling mid watched our post draft rankings because we said that he loses to setup, and look what mid cleaned up with Gyarados.
I mean, yeah, mid pretty much just brought setup. Like, although mid's team is pretty much setup, so that's his main way of putting on offensive pressure. So, really bad matchup for Falcon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so
Gyarados was just dripping on him. Who's next?
Levine at number 10 for all of us. So what do you think about Levine's play this week, Word?
Levine, he didn't really play terribly, I would say. He actually had a pretty decent chance to win. There were some questionable plays. I think if he wasn't trying to get too creative with the Mega Zam set because he's like expecting to make playoffs and he wants to save like his more creative sets for playoffs. But I think there were ways he could have prepped around he could have abused the Weavile with Zam, or at least like played around it, that would have put him in a commanding position because Dax doesn't have great counterplay to Mega Zam other than Weavile. He has a Scarm, but Scarm invites pressure from Xurkitree, the Lando set he brought, which was Gravity and Arcanine, as well as like what was his Fini set? Did he reveal? Was it like Taunt Nature's Madness?
I think we saw Defog, and I want to say that was more or less it that we really saw.
Yeah.
Defog, Reflect. That's what two of the moves.
Oh, okay. So it was dual screens Feeney, which I don't necessarily agree with, but it's not like I can see why he brought it, but I think I would have brought maybe like actually I'm not sure what I would have brought, to be honest. I don't know if Feeney. We'll see. The thing about his team, again, from the post PR draft, is that he's forced to bring Feeney like every week. So even though Feeney didn't have the best matchup here, other than being a pretty decent Weavile check. But yeah, I don't think I think his prep with the Alakazam could have been better, but other than that, I don't really think he played or prepped too badly. Dax did get a couple unfortunate crits, right?
Yeah.
Am I thinking of an? He did, and he managed to pursuit trap the Alakazam, which kind of sealed the game for him. Rabambi didn't do too much. It got webs up, which is what it was there for. So not like it did what it was supposed to do, but like he set up webs on the Scarm, which is obviously going to have defog. So not really the best use of Rabambi there. Also, not going for the Beast Boost with Zerk on the Jolteon at 1%. Seemed like a weird play to me. Maybe there's something I'm missing there, but also letting Landorus die to Icicle Crash rather than sacking something like Zerk or B seems weird when Lando could still intimidate the Gallade and the Garchomp late game. But yeah, other than that, it wasn't like anything egregious on Levine's part. I think Dax just had a better game plan going into it. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, I think that you hit a lot of the right points. He didn't like prep terribly. I guess I probably wouldn't have brought in screens Finny with defog, especially since he also brought webs. Like running webs and defogs, kind of a weird call to me. I feel like he definitely could have played Lando a lot better. Like you said, he just let it get sacked by Weavile. Also, at one point, he had traced the Sturdy from the Skarmory, and then Dax switched out to Weavile, but then he just switched out immediately after that. Had he stayed in, that was a dead Weavile. So I feel like he could have played actually with his Alakazam more aggressively than what he ended up doing, and I think it might have been a different outcome. The Arcanine set was interesting. It was like Dragon Pulse, so I think it was a special set, which I mean makes sense for the Skarmory. But then it really doesn't do anything to Volcanion unless if it was a mixed attacker with Wild Charge. But yeah, overall, like it just wasn't. It wasn't like a terrible game. It just wasn't like. It wasn't what I think Levine is capable of with this team. Is at least what I think. What do you what do you think, Pierre?
I think that outside of a couple misplays, like you mentioned with the Xurkitree and the Lando, outside of like maybe those two misplays, I don't really see a ton wrong with how he played. The reason I have him like all the way down at like 10th is just because this was tied for the largest I guess loss deficit, being 3-0. So I felt like I couldn't put him above the people above him, but I do want to give him credit because he at least played better than the two teams that we all have below him. I'm very confident that he did play better than them. He like you guys mentioned, he had one or two misplays, but outside of that, I felt like he played really well. But he also got crit twice, and he got a low roll at one point. So I felt like he also got a bit of hacks against him that might have like changed the way that he played. So I feel like in the middle of the teams that lost is kind of about right for him.
I think the main thing working against Levine is just the fact that his team is so limiting in what he can do with it. Because, we talked about this with his team, but he's pretty much forced to bring like defensive defog Feeney and bulky rocks Lando like every single week. And I feel like he if he made a couple changes, he would have a much better time with this team. But I think this game kind of highlighted that he's forced to prep a certain way like every single week, and Dex just kind of took advantage of that. Like, he didn't play or prep badly. It's just the way the team is built is just super limiting, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely think his team could use some changes, but we'll see. This is only week 1, so
Yeah, it's not a bad foundation. Just needs a couple tweaks, I think.
Mm-hmm. All right, so moving on. At 9th, I have Pyronox, who lost a close 1-0 match against Shadow. I thought Pyronox just kind of lost the sand at preview. He doesn't really have anything for Excadrill, especially after it sets up a sword stance. And Excadrill did kind of just body his team after he did get that sword stance and sand up. He played pretty good with the Kyurem early on. He picked up 2 early kills against the Salazzle and the Ampharos. I think what he could have done better was he didn't really bring anything to stall out sand turns. I think the only thing he actually had for that was like Glare on Superior, which he used it right at the end, so it didn't really matter for stalling out sand. But had he stalled out sand in some way, he could have turned around the end game. And then also him letting Shadow set up that Swords Dance with Excadrill was really unfortunate because it just basically 6-0's his team once it gets to +2. But yeah, that's about all I really have to say. What do you think about Pyro Pure?
I mean, you kind of hit the big thing for me. He did not prep well around sand, and I feel like the biggest thing was Greninja. Like, I feel like he almost played Greninja badly at the end because Greninja Greninja applies a lot of pressure to the Sandmon, so he could have tried to force a little bit, at least to the Excadrill. But I believe he ends up sacking like 2 Mons eventually to one of them, one of the Sandmons. Now, another thing I'm not sure about is I'm not sure if Water Shuriken would have killed Lycanroc in the sand, but because it does get the Spadef boost, but I know that Lycanroc has really bad Spadef and it's Water Shuriken, so I feel like depending on the role, he could have possibly played for that instead of sacking 2 Mons to the Lycanroc. But yeah, I think it was more of just prep around the sand. Just wasn't quite there.
Well, just to make a correction, he did actually go for Water Shuriken against the Lycanroc. He only got off 3 hits and it only did about 60 damage. So
okay, Excadrill then. My bad. I knew there was one of them that he sacked a couple of Mons to, and I felt like he could have gone for the Water Shuriken against, and I thought it was Lycanroc, but I'm sorry, I guess I was mistaken.
yeah, because Excadrill doesn't get that Spadef boost, so I don't know what that calc is. So, what do you think, Word?
I mean, look, I called it in the post-draft PRs. Shadow was going to have certain matchups where Sand just 6-0s from preview, and he's going to have some matchups where he just gets 6-0'd. This is one of the matchup where Sand just kind of runs a train. Like, you seen that picture of Piper Perry with like the 5 black dudes standing behind her, like when she's on the couch and they all in their underwear. Like, just put like an Excadrill head on one of them, a Hippo head on one of them, and a Lycanroc head on one. And that's what happened here, basically. Like, basically. But see, the thing is, Pyro, he should have recognized that Sand was really like the only threats to his team. Like the Keldeo could have been a problem, but like he had an Espeon, a Serp, and a Zapdos. So like there were I see some ways that his prep could have been different. I'm not gonna blow up Pyro's spot because I don't know if they play again in or like it, maybe if they both make playoffs. Like I'm not gonna blow up Pyro's spot, but there are some ways he could have prepped for Sand much better than he did because like he really just had to hard prep for Sand to be honest with like a couple Revengers for like Keldeo and he could have just brought like Scarf Espeon to revenge Salazzle and Keldeo and then like hard prep for Sand other than that. But like yeah, basically Big Papa Drill got the SD up and just let the chopper sing on him. Like that's basically what this game came down to. So yeah.
All right. So, Pierre, what do you think about BloodCrawler and the Larvitars? Moving on to.
I feel like I have him at one of the highest of the teams who lost because I feel like the prep was actually pretty decent. He just didn't play. He just didn't play around the Ditto very well. But then again, like I kind of give that more to Zombie like playing it well versus him not playing around it well. But there were several times where I really thought that BloodCrawler pretty much had the game, but then just the way that Zombie played the Ditto was really well. And I'll get into more of that when we get to Zombie. But I feel like Blood did a lot of what he could have against this team. Like I don't really discredit him for losing just because of how well the Ditto was played.
What do you think, Gord?
I will say he didn't play terribly. He played a little thoughtlessly at times. He made like an HP ice prediction on the Rachi when it was at like 20%. And I think that allowed Zombie to get rocks up with his Rachi. Like the Rachi was at like 10% against the Torn. Yeah, it allowed Rachi to get rocks up because he was clicking Dark Pulse against the Rachi and he had it down to about 20%. And then he made some kind of prediction and clicked HP Ice, which allowed Rachi to get the rocks up.
Not to sorry, not to interrupt, but so I was actually watching this live. Zombie forgot to make his Ditto the right ability. He wasn't what's the one that
Imposter.
Yeah, he wasn't running that, and so they restarted it, and they actually like had to like restart like 2 or 3 times to get the hacks right. And in this match, which was the final match, Blood actually ended up getting more flinches with the Dark Pulse. So he actually let him get the Stuff Rocks up to try to make it as similar to like the first match as possible. So that's why. So yeah, just wanted to.
Okay, yeah.
Because yeah, this was the only replay that I watched.
Okay, yeah, never mind. I didn't watch this live, so all right. Yeah, that makes sense because otherwise that was just a really shit play. But no, okay, I get that. But yeah, basically, honestly, I don't really. Ditto is a really difficult mon to prep around, especially if you have a really offensively based team like Blood does. Like there are. It's just really hard to prep around Ditto with a team like this, especially like an offensive rain team. But honestly, Blood didn't play badly at all. I don't think. I think Zombie just had a game plan and executed it well. Because Zombie's a very competent player. I've seen him play a few times, and he's just really consistent. And he knew what he had to do in this game, and he executed pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as I mentioned, yeah, this is like the 3rd or 4th time they reset the game. I commend BloodCrawler for letting Zombie go and put Imposter on Ditto, but had he just taken it as it was, I think Blood won that would have won this game, because as we talked about, Ditto just put in so much work this game. But besides that point, I really liked Blood's prep. The Raikou, I believe, was Specs and was just putting out monster damage against everything. He made some good reads on like when the Tangrowth was coming in, I believe, and hit it with some HP ices. I think the Mew could have been played better if I remember correctly. I don't actually remember what the Mew set was. But besides that, and I guess not playing the Ferrothorn as well, I think Blood played a overall pretty good game. Just lost to his own team basically, which you have to account for when your opponent has a Ditto. All right, so now we're moving on to the middle of the pack. So, what do you think of? We just talked about Blood.
I think it's Ryo.
Is it
Rio.
Ryo or is it Soham?
I think did we talk about Soham?
We didn't
Not
talk about
yet.
Soham yet.
Well, we talked about Soham when we talked about Eevee.
Right. I guess we can just mention them. So, so you actually have them at the lowest word. So that's why I kind of want you to start off. So what do you think Soham did kind of right and wrong?
Well, Soham, I think, basically abused his opponent misplaying. Because I don't think Soham played particularly well. I think Eevee just played kind of bad. And I apologize if it seems like I'm bashing on Eevee. I am, but I apologize if it seems that way. I'm sorry. All love, all love. But I mean, Eevee really didn't prep around Swellow. I don't know. He just kind of saw that Eevee didn't have answers to his offensive threats and went from there. Because Eevee had pretty much no switch-ins to like Swellow, Blacephalon, or Lopunny. Or Scissor, really, for that matter. He had like 4 huge offensive threats that just like chipped Eevee's whole team down for like any one of the other offensive threats. So I mean, really, that's just what it came down to. Not much else to say.
What do you think, Pierre?
Well, so a lot of times when I look at these matches, I think of, did the winner make plays to make themselves win, or did the opponent make bad plays to make themselves lose? Soham did not win his game, but like based on his own play. He won based on Eevee's misprep and Eevee's misplay. Like, that's the entire reason he won this game. Eevee we mentioned this when we talked about Eevee. Nothing for the Swellow. His one big answer to Lop went down super early. Another thing I noticed is that based on the way that Eevee played his Mega Mawile, he made it very obvious that I don't think he had Sucker Punch, which would have been really helpful this game if he had it, because it puts off huge damage on something like the Swellow, the Blacephalon. I don't believe he had Sucker Punch. I could be wrong.
I don't think he revealed Sucker Punch, so I don't think he had it.
And I think if he did, then he would have. Eevee could have easily just sent it in on the Swellow or the Blacephalon or the Lopunny. And I think Soham didn't really win his game. That's why, based off his own play, that's why I have Soham at the second lowest of the teams who won. I feel like Eevee lost it more than Soham won it.
Yeah, Soham made quite a few questionable plays himself. He switched in Nidoqueen on the Doug Trio, basically just sacking that off. He did get good chip damage on the Hitmontop with the Hydreigon, but he did lose it to a close combat in return. And I guess, yeah, he just played the end game good enough to take advantage of Eevee's misplays. Basically, Eevee was just down to Dugtrio at the end, and that was two-shotted by Megalops fake outs. So that's why it was a 1-0. I think he probably could have won it 2-0 if he knew what the Dugtrio set was, because I don't think Dugtrio was doing enough damage to take out Megalopunny. But he just wanted to make sure, and so that's why he sacked off the Blacephalon. He actually never used the Blacephalon, so even if his Mega Mawile had Sucker Punch, it never actually had the opportunity to try it out. But yeah, it turns out he also kind of misprepped his team. He meant to make the Swallow timid, and he ended up making Modest, which actually I think ended up mattering with the Ninetales kill. So Soam kind of won based off his own blunder in prep, but I guess you could call it a good prep in the end because it won him the game. But yeah, I have him kind of lower. I have him at last spot for all the coaches who won their games. So I guess I could have seen it going either way with that game. So that's why I have him so low. But moving on, Pure, why don't you tell us about Rio?
Okay, so I felt like Rio played really, really defensively, or maybe not defensively, but the way that I worded it is he played to not lose. Like I felt like he never really tried to put himself in a position to win until he clicked Rock Polish in front of a Tapu Koko that just gleamed and just eliminated him. But I felt like that was a huge misplay, and yeah, I felt like he didn't play to put himself in a position to win.
Mm-hmm. I kind of agree with a lot of that where he didn't put himself in his position to win. Or like he did, but he mistimed it, I guess I would say. Setting up the Tailwind against the Halucha was nice, because then it let the Mega Latios come in and kill it. But yeah, him trying to set up the Rock Polish on the Tapu Koko was really a big misplay. Because had he kept the Terrakion around to the end, I think he could have he would have beaten this Gengar and would have won the game instead of losing it. I liked his play with the Piloswine. I'm glad he was running both. He was running Ice Shard, so that way his Icicle Crash miss on the Mega Aerodactyl didn't actually matter in the end because he just killed it with the Ice Shard. And his Zera Aura plays were okay. I just feel like he should have gone out with that against the Tapu Koko when it was at like 20% or 30%, and then he could have put himself in the position to win. So, what do you think, Word?
About what you said about the Zero Aura, I actually believe that he would have been. I think he wins the game if there's a let me find the sequence of plays. But basically, it is the Hawlucha versus he brings in the Hawlucha to revenge the Piloswine. And yeah, it's turn 11 here. He brings in Hawlucha to revenge the Piloswine. He Ice Shards with the Piloswine, gets the Hawlucha to about 35%, kills the Piloswine, and here is where he should have brought out Zero Aura. Because look at Cameron's Zero Aura switches. They're not especially because he's special Zero Aura.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is two shot, except I think the Coco is not two shot, but it's still like he doesn't really want to switch in the Coco on the Zero Aura because that puts it in range of like Smart Strike from Cart, amongst other things. But he goes out into the Torn to get the Tailwind up, which I think is a misplay, because that could have been crucial for late game when he has, say, the Teraki, like if he has like the Torn, the Terrakion, and the Lottie left late game. That probably would have won him the game, that last late game Tailwind. He should have gone out to Zero Aura on the Halucha and started busting holes in his team early game to set up for the late game Tailwind sweep with one of his other hitters. I think that's the main spot where he messed up. But other than that, I don't think he played badly other than that, and that's not even really a bad play. That's more of just like an oversight or not the optimal decision, in my opinion. But this was an entertaining game. Just two heavily offensive teams slugging it out, just busting shots back and forth. Yeah, probably my favorite game of the week.
All right. So moving on. Who's talking about Shadow first? I kind of lost track.
I just went with
Rio. And then did you start?
I think I'm Shadow.
Okay.
Here.
So what do you think of Shadow? Word.
Shadow did what he had to do, which was whip out his big old Excadrill and onto the table and just sling it in. Who'd he play? Sling it in Pyro's face. That's what he had to do. Basically, he just pulled out his sand core and said, "Here, like, take this." Rock slide and EQ to your face. Like that's what the game came down to, was matchup. I already talked about there are ways I think Pyro could have prepped around the sand, but again, maybe he just wanted to save it. I don't know. But yeah, there's not a whole lot to talk to about this game because I think it was only like an 18 turn game.
Yeah.
Like there's not a whole lot to talk about this game because it was really just came down to lack of answers to Excadrill and Lycanroc, pretty much.
Do you want to go Pure or you want to go?
All right. I felt like the reason I have Shadow as my bottom of the teams that won is because I really felt like he needed the most help from his opponent to win. Pyro prepped and played. It was more prep, but he also played not well around the sand. So I feel like, especially in a lot of Shadow's matches going forward, he's going to need a lot of help from his opponent to pick up some nice wins. And I felt like that's pretty much what happened here. You know, going back to, did he win it or did his opponent lose it? I felt like Pyro lost it easily.
Yeah, the whole prep on Pyro was questionable. Shadow started off this match really, really rocky. He lost 2 mons like immediately to Kieran Black. So I guess unless he was kind of giving himself a handicap, he's like, I don't need a full team of 6. I got the Sand Core. He's good to go. But yeah, his lead option with Salazzle was highly questionable. Just because, I mean, unless it was Scarf Salazzle for predicting Greninja lead. But even then, I don't think it doesn't. I don't know the calc, but
even then he has Water Shuriken.
Yeah, even then Water Shuriken just blows Salazzle back. And then yeah, but basically like both of you guys said, he just won the match just because his opponent had no real answer to Sand. He played the Hippowdon really well, having enough bulk in it to live the Ice Beam from Kieran Black early on, and then saving it for the end game so he'd get the Sand up, so Excadrill could clean up. So he played his same team.
With that.
He played his same team well. It was the right team for this matchup. So. All right. So now we move into our top 4 coaches for week 1. So let's see. Let's go ahead and start off with. You guys want to start off with?
I think Dax is overall.
Overall, okay.
I think we should
So
save mid for the end.
save mid for that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have Dax at number 2. Let me find his game. So like as we mentioned, he did get some favorable hacks on his part with the Weavile and the low roll on the Jolteon from the Xurkitree, I believe. Him bringing 2 Scarfers was really nice on his part though, because it helped take care of the Alakazam, and it also helped mitigate the sticky webs from Rabombi. Him clicking the Steam Eruption on the Mega Zam was a big misplay on his part, and it could have cost him more, but he had Weavile fully healthy at that point, so it was okay, I guess. He didn't have to bring out the Mega Gallade, so who knows what that set was actually. But yeah, I just think Dex prepped and played pretty well, and he did get some favorable hacks. So in the end, I think he still probably would have won that game, but it might have been like a 2-0 or a 1-0 instead. But what do you guys think?
You can go. I kind of want to go last when talking about Dax.
What if I don't want to?
All right, moving on then.
No.
I can go then.
No, it's too late. You've already thrown the gauntlet down. I'm going. Okay, so basically, Dax. I mean, Dax deserved to win this game for the Garchomp nickname alone. That was honestly the win con was his nickname. Like that was his main win con. But yeah, honestly, I made a mistake in my PRs. I should have Dax 4th and mid higher. So like, kind of disregard what's on the slide. Dax is my 4th slot because I think mid showed more than he did. I just kind of threw the PRs together and made a mistake. But yeah, Dax didn't play badly. He made some decent plays. He got helped by RNGesus and by his opponents by the matchup, I would say. But he had some good sets. He didn't play badly. He played decently well, and it won him the game. He didn't have to do more than that. That's all I really have to say about it.
Yeah, Dax, if you're watching this, your Weavile should have about 4 deaths by now, because the crit on the Finny with the knockoff, I believe the crit was necessary to kill, because the first one did like 12 to 13, and then I forget like the exact roll, but it looked like that the crit was necessary to knock out the Finny. Even if he was just sacking the Finny, he probably went for a move to kill the Weavile. So there's that. There's I believe the other crit was on the Alakazam. There was that. Yeah, Weavile should have about 4 deaths by now. And then another, like you already mentioned, the play versus the Steam Eruption and the Alakazam. Like, I think better like game sense, I guess is the best way to put it. When you're in the game, like, don't get me wrong, like Dax, as much as I'm hounding him for like his play in game, Dax's prep was awesome. I mean,
Dude, just tell him he's bad. Dax, you're fucking trash, kid.
Like the prep was awesome. The prep was exactly what he needed to win. He just didn't play well, I don't think at all during the game. Just having a better game sense, and I guess I almost want to say pay more attention, but
yeah, don't be such a retard.
When don't Steam Eruption a mon that just traced your Water Absorb, and don't try to sack your Weavile at every possible instance. But yeah, the reason that Dax is sort of in the middle of the teams that won for me is because he did win with the largest margin, but he won with a lot of help. He got 2 really nice crits and a low roll. So I feel like this game probably would have been a 1-0 or possibly even go the other way if those hacks didn't go his way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of hard to tell, but moving on. Go with, what do you guys think next? Zombie or you can go zombie?
I'd say Cameron.
Go Cameron next. All right. Well, Word, since you have him as your highest coach, why don't you give us what you think about Cam's play?
A couple things factored into me having Cam as my highest coach. I have food in my mouth right now, so you can probably tell. But like, fuck it, we'll do it live. Cam, basically, this was one factor was that this was the most enjoyable game to watch for me, just because it was such a slugfest. It was the 2 most offensive drafts, just a slobber knocker. It was just pressure, offensive pressure. Which team could kill the other the fastest? Cam played with his win cons pretty well. He realized that Lucha probably wasn't going to have the chance to set up, so he used it as like a mid-game breaker. Although he maybe could have saved it for late game, I don't disagree. He used it. He used the Yuxi pretty well. I really like Yuxi on this team for the pivoting. It provides. But yeah, he recognized what his game plan was and what his win cons were, and he executed it pretty much. And I forgot the other factor to why he is the top is because he was the top of my post-draft PRs. And I was just like, I'll keep him there because I like how he played and I like his team. So, yeah. What do you guys think?
You want to go first? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I felt like, whereas, with the previous person we talked about, Dax, he didn't play with the highest game sense. I felt like Cameron, out of all the teams this week, outside of maybe mid, played with the highest amount of, I guess, game sense. Like, he saw in game what was going to win him the game and what wasn't, and he used the pieces that he brought to their fullest potential in this matchup. I felt like the only play that his opponent really made to like lose the game was the Terrakion play. But I mean, Cameron, I guess I've had a little bit more intel because I watched Cameron's video over it. He had no reason to switch, and so he just stayed in and clicked Dazzling Gleam, and it didn't really, I guess, matter too much either way, at least in Cameron's eyes. But Cameron played super, super well this week. Yeah, he did exactly what he needed to win. I felt like of all the matchups that went 1-0, there was a lot of them that went 1-0. This is the one that I think was the most lopsided in terms of how well the coaches were playing.
I think Rio's main problem as a player, from what I've seen of him, he makes good plays. I think it's his game planning and his prep that are somewhat lacking. I feel like the game plans he comes up with and tries to execute aren't like the optimal ones if he has a game plan at all. But like his plays are well thought out, and I just feel like during the prep phase he doesn't game plan like to the best of his ability. That's what I would say about Rio. I'm a big fan of Rio, by the way. Huge fan.
Yeah, so just getting back on the Cam, you guys said a lot. I mean, no, that's totally fine talking about Rio, because Rio did play this game really well as well. But
yeah, I've dick rode Cam enough, I think.
I think you're gonna continue to dick ride him until he loses, but we'll see. Anyways, I feel like you said, he played his win cons almost perfectly, I would say, if not perfectly. He knew that he needed the chip damage on the Zero Aura at the end, so I don't know if he should have sacked off the Barbaracle, because does Barbaracle get Aqua Jet?
No,
I
it
don't
doesn't.
So
Oh, it doesn't? Okay. Well, then, perfectly fine with him sacking Barbaracle. But yeah, he needs the chip damage, which he got with Uxie, and then Scarf Gengar just won him the game. I feel like the only mon that Cam didn't use to the fullest was really the Mega Aerodactyl. But I guess it didn't have the most beneficial matchup this game. Like it got some good damage off on the Mega Latios. Mega Latios, I think, right?
Yeah.
It got off some good damage on that, and then basically after that, he just sacked it to the Piloswine.
I don't know what the set was. If it was like a certain set, like if it was like Aquatail, EQ, Flamethrower, Stone Edge, that would have been like a threatening set. But if it was like any other set, it probably didn't have that matchup. So
yeah, so I'm just assuming it just didn't have that good of a matchup. I didn't watch Cam's team builder. Sorry, Cam. But I also feel like he played Halucha pretty good. Like he said, he didn't see any time he was going to be able to set up with it, so he just used it as that mid game breaker to take out the Tornadus, and also the Piloswine. And then his plays with the Tapu Koko were nice, taking out the Megaladios and also the Terrakion that I was trying to set up. So good stuff, Cam. We'll see how you play next week. So, moving on to next, we have Zombie. Who wants to go first on Zombie?
I will. That's fine. Basically, Zombie played how I know Zombie to play, which is just really solid. Zombie is a very, very consistent player. He's not going to do things that just like blow your mind, but he's will make the right play 9 times out of 10. And he will bring the right set 9 times out of 10. And that's pretty much what he did. He brought what he needed to bring. He made the plays he needed to make. He recognized that Ditto was the win con. And he just did, he did everything pretty much right.
All right, pretty short and sweet, but
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot to say, but like, yeah,
no.
I can just like spout memes off for like 10 minutes if you want.
No. I think this video is already getting up there in time, so that's good enough for that. Like you said, he played Ditto phenomenally. And like I mentioned earlier, this was like the third, fourth time they had to restart the game for hacks and also for getting Zombie to have the right Ditto ability. But obviously, it paid off phenomenally for him. Only misplay I really saw from Zombie was the Mega Kong against the Mew. It was pretty obvious that Mew was going to be the switch in and that it was going to be Rocky Helmets. But he still basically just let the Mega Kong go down to that. He did pick up the kill on the Ferroform with the Fire Punch, but
I actually don't disagree with that play because he led with Kang, right?
no, he led with Rotom.
Okay. Well, I still think that it seemed to me that his game plan with Kang was always to just get one kill with it and let it die. I think that seemed to be his mindset going into it. Kang is going to get a kill on probably either the Ferrothorn or the Mew, which opens up a hole for his other mons to do whatever they want. So I actually don't disagree with letting the Kang go down so early because I think that's what the Kang was designed to do, was to just break through one or both of his walls. So
Yeah.
that's how I see it, at least.
And I guess he did accomplish that. He got Mew down low, and then he got rid of the Ferrothorn. So I guess
Yeah, that was a really bad play from who was this, BloodCrawler?
letting the Pharaoh go down.
Yeah, I don't think I actually talked about that when we talked about Blood, but yeah, that was a really unnecessary play because the Mew was going to die either way, and Zombie had no reason to not make that play because Kang was going to die either way. So not a good call there on the Ferrothorn sack.
Yeah. So what do you think of Zombie? Pure?
I think that, I mean, you mentioned best. He played really well. Like, I mean, I could ride him for the Ditto play all night, but I mean, the Ditto was awesome. Kangaskhan did what it needed to do, and overall, he just did what he needed to do. There were so many times in this game where I sat there and I thought, okay, now mid just, or not mid, blood. Now blood just wins. Okay, now blood just wins, and every single time Zombie found a way around a different piece of that rain core. He found a way to beat it, and I thought that Zombie just played super well.
Yeah, not a whole lot to complain about. So, and moving on to our coach that we have kind of at a unanimous one. Word has him a little lower, about third or fourth spot. We have Mid.
I actually would probably have him. I think the top three are. It doesn't really matter what order they're in. They're all like top three, and they're kind of interchangeable.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like he could be my one. It wouldn't make much of a difference.
Yeah, but yeah, we do have Mid at number one for us then. So, who wants to start us off on Mid?
I can start. I mean, kind of like I said with Falcon, it wasn't. I mean, I could pick apart every single play, and I would have to talk about every single play because every single turn was just as good of a play for Mid as any other turn. So, like, across the board, on turn in, turn out, Mid just played super, super well. He prepped exactly how he needed to. I mentioned this earlier, but I think he might have watched our draft recap video. He knew exactly how to beat Falcon's team. He brought exactly the right team to do it, and he did it. I mean, this was the most lopsided game of the entire week.
Mm-hmm. It was tied with Dax, but this one definitely felt like it was more lopsided than Dax's game. So I agree. Yeah, I just love a little Impersion as a Mon. Parting Shot is so good, and he did so well in this game. Letting him bring in the Latios to set up, or letting him bring in the Mega Deontay for basically 3. He made a good read on the incoming Tentacruel and went for the Diamond Storm, but I mean, outside of Metacham, Falcon didn't really have a switch into Diamond Storm at all. So, but he didn't need to use the Blastoise or the Chandelure. So, don't know what those sets were, but I guess him not having used 2 of his Mons just shows that he played the matchup really well. So, what do you think of Mid's play? Word?
I could have done way better, to be honest. No, I mean, he just abused the matchup pretty much. He just abused the poor matchup. He saw that Falcon's ways of revenging Lottie were very limited, and Deancey as well. Gyarados put in a lot of work. Like it honestly, mid just he set up at the right times. He abused the mons he knew he could abuse. He knew what his threats were from the beginning and played accordingly. Pretty impressed with it overall, even though mid's bad and I'm better than him. But he played pretty well.
Yeah. So any closing thoughts, guys, or?
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to, like, if I were to put the coaches into tiers, I would say the of the 6 teams that lost, I'd say the bottom 3 and the top 3 of those 6 are sort of their own tiers. And then in terms of the top 6, I think it's Shadow and Soham, and then Dax would be in like a B tier by himself. And then the 3 top teams, I agree, are pretty much interchangeable. I just think mid played the best this week.
Any closing statements, word?
I agree with what Pierce said. Just a couple things. First off, Dax, if you ever try to imitate me in a video again, I will put you last in the PRs every single week until you die. I will join every league you're in, become an analyst, and put you last in PRs in every single league. If you ever try to imitate me in a video again. And another thing, if I was in minors, I would 6-0 every person in it every week and be number 1 and win finals and never have a mon die. But I'm not in minors, so you can't prove me wrong. Other than that, really good games from everybody. Really proud of my sons. They did pretty well this week. Look forward to the rest of the season.
Yeah, a lot of good matches this week. And obviously this is the first week, so expect these to definitely change as the weeks continue on, as we kind of sort out who's the top of the top and who's the bottom of the bottom. But hopefully we continue to see these good matches, and I guess we'll see you guys in week 2 power rankings next week. So see you then.